What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Wednesday. We're making a turn on this week already. Appreciate you tuning in, making us part of your starts, whether it's on the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also, checking us out online, sportstalk1051.com. You got your smart speakers, smart devices, like your Google and Alexa home devices. The app, download that. The Sports Talk app, download that. Take it on the go. Video streams are also up and rolling on Facebook and YouTube this morning. What do we got on our good old game plan for us? Well, we've got Bucks picking up a win last night. No Damian Lillard, and the Bucks altering their starting lineup again. Doc Rivers electing to put Ryan Rollins in the backcourt, starting backcourt. AJ Green got the start and played 30 minutes last night too, but they all helped contribute to the 99-85 victory over the Raptors. Giannis leading the way with 23 points and 7 assists. Brooke Lopez, 13 points. Bobby Portis coming off the bench and putting up 17 points. AJ Green and Rollins each scoring at 12 points. The only starter to not score in double figures last night was Prince, who had 9 points in just 22 minutes of action. So Bucks quick turnaround though for the Bucks, as they will be back at it tonight, taking on the Detroit Pistons. So Bucks 3-8, looking to hopefully maybe get in a little bit of a groove here and start to stack some wins here. Start to get this thing going. Right now, Detroit's better team record-wise, 5-7 so far on the season. So this will be back in Milwaukee again. So back-to-back action tonight for the Bucks. We got hoops talk. We'll hit that up and talk a little Bucks here too. Latest rumors and rumblings surrounding this Bucks team. Are they still scouring the trade market? What's the latest rumors surrounding that? So we'll hit that up and chat a little bit about chat a little Bucks coming up here too. Uh, Baseball off season continues to roll. It's award season for baseball too, and William Contreras grabbing another Silver Slugger, back to back years, Silver Slugger. That's for Willie Adames, or not Willie Adames. I was looking up a Willie Adames rumor. William Contreras, my apologies. But so 2 years in a row now, Contreras getting the Silver Slugger at the catching position for the Crew. So award season continues to go on. Rumor season continues to go on. The hot stove off season continues to move along for the Brewers. I saw it's a huge pipe dream, but there was, obviously Juan Soto is the big free agent prize this offseason. We know that. He's the big one. But there's there was one. This is the thing too. Like we got to be careful when it gets to rumors and reports out there, because some of it is just it's manufactured, whether it's by agents or whatever. But there was one saying there was like a mystery small market team in play or in hopes to get Juan Soto. And so there was some like try now you got people trying to figure it out. Could it be somebody like the Brewers and all that. So I hope, I really hope nobody is getting their hopes up or buying into the the Brewers of all teams getting into a Juan Soto sweepstakes. Would it help them? Yeah, but is it gonna happen? No. Don't necessarily believe everything you hear and all that. So again, not saying it's the Brewers is that, but there you got people like, oh, could it actually be the Brewers that they're going to fork over $700 million for Juan Soto? So that's it's sports when it gets to the off season and hot stove seasons and rumors and rumblings. But I hope nobody that's a Brewers fan is really getting their hopes up or letting that kind of leak in there. Like, ooh, could it actually happen? No, it's not. Okay, we know it's not. So. But we'll talk some baseball, Brewers, get you some of the latest rumors and rumblings surrounding the Crew and elsewhere. across Major League Baseball, as it's kind of right now. Again, the big one is the Juan Soto sweepstakes. Where's he going to go? Who's he visiting? And all that. I know he's got Red Sox, Blue Jays making visits over there too. So, but we'll hit that all up a little bit later on here this morning. Packers will be back at practice, getting sets for their matchup, their game against the Chicago Bears coming up this Sunday. Another matchup in the historic rivalry between these two ball clubs here. So we will get our first glimpse of the health injury situation for the Packers. Did the bye week help the likes of Jair and Evan and Josh Myers and even Jordan Love for a little bit too? So we'll get our first glimpse of that, get our first injury reports of the season. So we'll talk some football coming up here in just a little bit too as we get set for this second half of the season. Second half of the season here. And it's going to be we're going to do, kind of some prediction stuff here when it comes to Green Bay and that. But in this second half of the season here. So, what's your biggest worry, concern heading into the second half of the season? Take injuries out. That's always number one for anything and for anybody out there. So take health, take injuries and all that stuff out of there. But what is your biggest question mark, biggest concern heading into this second half of the season? And maybe it's still Jordan Love. So Jordan Love's turnovers and that. So let's maybe take those two away. So I really want you to think about this. I want what's maybe, or maybe we'll just make it plural. What are some of the biggest question marks, biggest concerns you've got heading into this second half of the season? So I've got a few. All right, I've got my few here. Biggest question marks, maybe biggest concerns heading into the second half, because I think, and the reason I say concerns, and not to just kind of sound down or negative or anything like that. We know the NFC it's tight. It's going to be it's going to be tight to get into the postseason. I feel like there's a good chance that a team that's going to have double-digit wins, whether it's like 10 wins or so, that's going to miss the playoffs. Green Bay currently right now 6-3, holding on to that final wild card spot, given the fact that the North has been tough. Bears kind of falling down a little bit, but not completely out of it. But the way Minnesota is this year, obviously with Detroit, throw in Green Bay, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. So with it, because that margin of error is so small when it comes to these NFC teams, where every single game now with these final 8 is going to matter, where it could make the difference of making the playoffs or not. So with that margin of error being so thin, being so small, what is maybe some of the biggest concerns, biggest question marks, again, outside of health, outside of injuries, because that's always number one. But what are those for Green Bay? Or maybe you're like, no, I'm confident, man. I think they're going to go 6-2, 7-1, whatever. And that I've got no concerns. I'm confident as all get out that they're going to have 12, 13 wins in this thing, and they're making the playoffs. Lock it in. They're in. Maybe you are that confident. I'm not that confident right now, but maybe you are that confident. So start to hit me up on those texts, 715-830-1912. The college football playoff rankings coming out again. The updated ones over there. Oregon remained number 1 in the second rankings. Ohio State's 2, Texas 3, Penn State 4, and Indiana 5. But the way the bracket would play out here. You got Oregon as the 1, Texas as the 2, BYU as the 3, Miami as the 4, Ohio State's would be the 5 seed, Indiana be the 7 seed taking on Alabama, and Penn State would be the 6 seed taking on Ole Miss. How about this? And their thing too, first team out, Georgia. Georgia, first team out. Second team out is SMU. So we only got a couple more weeks of this thing, man. And we're gonna be wrapping it up for the regular season here. I don't when was like is this so I'm gonna talk to you diehard Badger fans because I know we've got a lot of you. And some of you are kind of quiet, and that's okay. But I personally know we've got quite a few big time Badger football fans here. Is this like the first time? And maybe I'm off on this, but heading into this game against Oregon, I mean, is this the first time where you are just like heading in? Maybe it's first in like years, pre Barry Alvarez, if you will, or whatever. But is this the first time, maybe in recent history for you, where you've gone into a game like, yeah, we've got no shot. Like I can't even get excited. I can't even get excited about the possibility of pulling off an upset. I just no. I'm going in with the expectation we're going to get killed and we're going to lose. We're going to get dominated. But you know what? If we pull it off, I'm going to celebrate like it's 1999 or something. Like I can't. And I know this season we can kind of pinpoint certain games and such, but I mean, you're going up against number 1 Oregon, who is undefeated this year. Yeah, there's been some close games for them and such, but I can't remember the last time, and maybe I'm just completely blanking on it, and maybe somebody can help remind me of this, where we went into a game where I think the majority of Badger fans are just like, yeah, no. No shot. No shot. Is that where you're at right now? But and like what I mean, is this the first time you've felt this for a while too? I'll be honest with you. Like again, I can't remember. I mean, there's been games where I thought, okay, it would be tough for the Badgers to win, but maybe you hold on a little bit of hope, a little bit of a glimmer of hope, even like those games against Ohio State and such. Like, oh, maybe, maybe this one is like, no, no, I got nothing. I got nothing, man. So we'll talk some college football. I know we've kind of been a little bit down there, but it is making a turn Wednesday. So whose stock is rising? All right. Whose stock is rising? Who's on the rise? Where's the arrow? Whose arrow is trending upward? Could be player, coach, team, that sort of thing. So what you got for me? All right. Hit me up with those messages over there. Whose stock is rising right now? All right, so there's your game plan here for us this morning. Let's get things going here. What else do you want to hit up? Let me know. Got a question? Got a topic idea? Send those puppies on over here. So we'll begin. Bears week continuing for the Packers. We'll hit that up. Bucks picking up a win last night as well, and they're back at it tonight, hoping to put together a 2-game winning streak. How about that? A 2-game winning streak for the first time, maybe. Don't want to put the horse before the cart, but maybe our first 2-game winning streak of the season for the Bucks tonight. So, pitter patter, let's get at her. We'll take our first break, and we'll be back here in just a few minutes to get things going on. To get things going this morning on the leadoff. Stick around. We'll be back after these quick words. Are you looking for a place to hold an event, like a fundraiser or even a baby shower, and you're not sure where you should be looking? Well, hey, look no further because the VFW Post 305 on Star Avenue in Eau Claire has the perfect setup for you. Just visit VFWPost305.com for information on their outdoor and indoor venue rentals. And don't forget, the VFW Post 305 is your place when it comes to breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So many different options, so many different fun events going on at the VFW Post 305 that you want to make sure you follow their Facebook page to stay updated, including parking lot party, reopening parking lot party coming up this Saturday starting at 1 p.m. All right, put it on the calendars over there. When it comes to hosting events or just having a great meal, you can't beat the VFW Post 305 on Star Avenue in Eau Claire. Before we get really going here this morning, too, reminder we have Best Holiday Ever going on right now. And we want to, for Backyard Dreams, we want to help send, well, we want to take some kiddos Christmas shopping like we did last year. So if you know of some kiddos, nominate some kiddos by just going to sportstalk1051.com or around the 715.com and nominate a child that you think deserves to go on a Christmas shopping spree with us. Okay, more details again. It's just like last year, but hoping to take some more kiddos here this year too. So, but that's part of our Backyard Dreams. Thanks to all of you who have supported Backyard Dreams, we are able to help take some kiddos Christmas shopping this year. So again, if you know of a child or maybe it's one of your child's, send it on over to us. Again, details at either sportstalk1051.com. Click on the Fan Cave tab and scroll to the bottom or head to around the 715.com. All right, let's get things off and running here this morning. First hour, we're going to talk a little Bucks as the Bucks picked up a win last night against the Toronto Raptors. No Damian Lillard. Bucks altering their starting lineup a little bit there too. So 3-8. All right, off to a 3-8. Hopefully they'll get to 4-8 tonight with a win against the Detroit Pistons. We're going to talk some hoops. We'll talk some Bucks coming up here in just a bit. But let's lead things off talking a little green and gold to get the texting line going, to get your thoughts going here this morning too. So Packers will return to practice today to get set for their matchup against the Chicago Bears. Bears team that's going to have a new offensive coordinator, Thomas Brown, after firing Shane Waldron the other day. So expect the thing is, I think Green Bay knows that we should expect some unscouted looks. It's just, what are those looks going to be? It's not going to be, I don't think, completely different just on a short week here, and considering you have a rookie quarterback in that. But I think you are going to see some new stuff and maybe simplify some of the stuff there too. Green Bay knows it. Jeff Hafley knows it. Chicago knows it too. But that's a little bit of an advantage for Chicago in terms of, they can go out there and maybe do a few different things. Because that's the thing too, when you switch offensive coordinators, there's going to be a few new things, a few different wrinkles within this offense. What those are exactly, we won't know till we get to Sunday. But this is also the second half of the season kicking off here for the Packers and for a lot of teams here too. It just happened to work out. Green Bay's coming off their bye week right now. So looking into the second half of the season, what are some of your biggest concerns, maybe the biggest question marks for the Packers heading into this? And the reason I bring it up, and the reason I'm asking this too, is because I truly believe that the margin of error is very small for the Packers in terms of losing some games because of how tight the NFC is with all those teams in a playoff chase. Now, when you look at it, it's Detroit right now at the top. Philly's 7-2, leading their division. They're the second seed. Atlanta's leading their division 6-4. Arizona's leading their division 6-4. So those are your four division leaders, top four seeds. Then you've got your three wild cards. Minnesota 7-2. Washington 7-3. Then Green Bay's holding on to that final one at 6-3. Well, right behind them now is San Francisco, and we've got San Francisco coming up next week. And then you got Chicago sitting there at 4-5. Not completely out of it either. Rams 4-5, Seattle 4-5, Tampa Bay 4-6 and such. But it's tight. And you look at the schedule coming up here too for Green Bay. We've talked about it at length for this upcoming schedule. To me, you don't look at records. There's some good games over here. So with that being said, what are maybe the biggest question marks, the biggest concerns you have for this team because that margin of error is so small? Take away health, because we all know that's the number one thing every single year, every single week, every single game, heading in every single season, playoffs, whatever. Health is always number one. That's the easy answer. So take that away. That's already an automatic. I've got a few, and it's stuff that we've talked about before, but I think they're that important, and they're a big question mark. Second part is, or the first part, or the first one, excuse me, is it starts with the quarterback. It starts with the quarterback play, Jordan Love, and there's three, I think, sub parts to this, or you put like Jordan Love, and then you put your bullet points underneath it. There's a few of them for me for Jordan Love. One, yes, you could say health. Okay, how's the groin feeling? How's the knee feeling? Is how much better is he after having a week off? Is it something that's still going to nag him throughout the season? Okay, health, boom, boom, move on. Will we see a second half Jordan Love like we did last year, where Jordan Love looked like and played like the best quarterback in the league, one of the best quarterbacks in the league? That version of Jordan Love last year, that second half that propelled them to the playoffs and to winning a playoff game and nearly getting to the NFC Championship game, that's, for one, secured his starting job in Green Bay. Two, secured that huge contract for him. Answered the questions. For some, though, there still was questions heading into the season. Oh, we only got to see about a half a season of Jordan Love. Do we have a full picture yet? Are we going to see that Jordan Love last year, that second half Jordan Love, in the second half this year? I know it's a high bar, but are we going to see that again this year? And part of that factors into it the decision-making from Love. Not turning the ball over, not throwing as many interceptions. Yes, he's a little bit more aggressive than I think we could say than Aaron Rodgers. Some like it, some don't. But are we going to see those interceptions, those turnover numbers go down a little bit? So, I mean, I think the biggest question now, or one of the biggest questions heading into the second half, is not necessarily a concern for me at this point, but is like, what Jordan Love are we going to see? Are we going to see maybe a second half Jordan Love like last year, or is it going to be the Jordan Love that we have seen for the first half this year? That's an easy one for me. Staying with the offense too, and part of that factor with Jordan Love is going to be, do the Packers continue to have a case of the dropsies? Whether it's Jayden Reed, whether it's Dontayvion Wicks, or whoever, will they continue to have a case of the dropsies? And how is that rotation going to look like when it gets to wide receivers? Are we going to see, okay, yes, Dontayvion Wicks is a fantastic, is a fantastic receiver in terms of getting open. He's got some of the better numbers out there. But when, with the second half here, does his playing time, it's like basketball. When you get to that postseason, does your bench shorten? When we get to the second half now, does that rotation shorten a little bit? Do the reps start to go down? Does the snaps start to go down for guys who aren't producing at a high level, including Wicks? And Wicks is still incredibly talented, and I'm not ready to throw the towel on Wicks and all that. He's still going to get some playing time this year, but I think, heading into this year, there's a lot of optimism and a lot of, like, watch out for this guy making that second year jump. And he has done a lot of good things. He's been getting open, but the dropsies, the case of the dropsies is kind of an issue right now. So how is that receiver rotate? Are they going to tighten that up, or are they going to continue to flow in everybody, if you know what I mean. Um, Staying with the offense and then kind of transitioning to the defensive side here, because I have this question for both sides of the ball. And I know I talked about it at length the other day, but will we see new wrinkles? Okay, we've got a lot of stuff. Opponents have a lot of stuff on film from the Packers in the first half of the season. They've got some stuff on film for the offense. They've got some stuff on film from the defense. Will we see new wrinkles? I mean, we're not going to see something completely new, playbooks and sort of that sort of stuff. But has there been some stuff that maybe they're holding on? And it might only be a few plays, and it might not be that noticeable when we start these games up in that. But will we see some new wrinkles from Matt LaFleur in terms of play calling? Will we see some new wrinkles from Jeff Hafley defensively? That's what we were talking about the other day. Will he switch it up with the linebackers a little bit? Will Quay move over to a weak side or strong side? Will Eric Wilson get more snaps? Can Edgerrin Cooper get more snaps and stay on the field? What are some of the new stuff? What are some of the new wrinkles that we will potentially see, especially when we get a little bit deeper into some of, when we get back to matchups against Detroit and Minnesota and Chicago, because those are going to be your second turn runs, right? Second time we're going to be facing those teams, and it's at the back final quarter of the season. But what are the new wrinkles? What is something new that potentially we can see? And again, it might just be a couple plays, might be a few plays, but it's something that they're going to put out there that teams have to prepare for. What are those adjustments? What did they learn on their self-scout week during this bye week? Did they find something? Going to the defense, I think, obviously one of the things that we're hoping that gets better. And I'm curious to see if it will get better after a bye week of assessing and scouting and planning and brainstorming and trying to figure it out. Pressure. Will there be a consistent pass rush? Will that front, that defensive line, be a dominating group in terms of stopping the run, slowing down the run, putting constant pressure on quarterbacks? Will we see consistently better play up front? Because I think if you asked a lot of people and you polled a lot of people, what's maybe your biggest question marks around the defense right now? The front will probably be the most votes. It's not going to be 100%, but it'd probably get the majority of the votes. So he's had a week now. The entire defensive staff has had a week now. And no more Preston Smith. So what's the game plan? What's the idea to try to get this defensive front rolling, moving, consistently playing well? Is it getting more snaps to Brenton Cox Jr. and Aaron Mosby, like Brian Gutekunst said when they traded Preston Smith? Is it, maybe, hey, Rashawn, we need you to play more than 60% of the snaps? But what's that pressure? What's that front going to be looking like? Will they adjust some things? Or is it going to be a lot of the same old stuff that we saw in the first few, 9 weeks of the season, 9 games of the season for Green Bay? Because you got Caleb Williams coming up first. He is a mobile quarterback, but the Patriots showed, hey, you confuse him, you can get after him. 9 sacks for crying out loud. Be a little bit different going up against maybe Brock Purdy. But then you got Tua, Jared Goff. I mean, you're going up against some quarterbacks in the next few weeks here. After, Caleb Williams' talent, I hope nobody's, jumping off the bandwagon of Caleb Williams right now. But you look at even after that, Brock Purdy and Tua and Jared Goff and heck, even Geno Smith to an extent. I mean, quarterbacks that have won quite a few games, veteran quarterbacks. Might not be able to confuse some of those quarterbacks as much as maybe you can confuse Caleb Williams this week. So how can they generate that pressure consistently going down the stretch and not allowing quarterbacks to just sit back there and pick apart, your secondary that's played well, but at the same time, if you're asking guys to cover 4, 5, 6 seconds, you're asking a lot over there too. And then will there be a change at linebacker. Kind of that feeds into it. I know I already mentioned it, but that's one of the questions I have coming in here. Maybe kind of a concern here too, because I think, Matt LaFleur always talks about the offensive line, the five best will play. In this case, it's kind of like the six best will play because they're incorporating Morgan, into with Sean Ryan, but the five best will play. Okay. But there's a little caveat to that too, right? We know there's a little caveat to that too. It's not necessarily always the five best will play. It's the five best that will play at their position. So it's not like, they've got a guy they're playing out of position just because he is the best. He's one of the five best. They're not going to do that. So it's five best, but playing within, their positions that they best succeed at too. So there's a little bit of a caveat to that. And that's where I think you have to look at it in terms of the linebacking group. The three best will play. Well, make sure they're in the right spots too, in the correct spots, the spots that will benefit them and in turn benefit the team. Will we see Eric Wilson get more opportunities? Because he's kind of ran away with some of those. He has played incredibly well with his opportunities on the defensive side. Edgerrin Cooper has shown some really good flashes. We need more reps from those guys. How do you get more reps from those guys? Maybe you sacrifice some reps from Quay Walker. Maybe Quay Walker moves to a weak side or a strong side. And I know he wears the sticker. But maybe a guy like Xavier McKinney is a guy that could, who's out there 100% of the snaps. I know the typical, it's always a linebacker that has that, but we've seen safeties, we've seen others have the communication in their helmet. And I think Xavier McKinney is a pretty good, second option or another option for that. But I want to see more of Wilson and Cooper, and not necessarily say bench Quay Walker. I still wonder if Quay Walker is playing out of position. I really do. So those are just a few of my questions that I have heading into the second half of the season. And again, I bring this up because I think that margin of error is so small with the NFC and the standings there. I mean, every single game right now, you kind of look at it, whatever game Green Bay loses, I'm going to be a little nervous in terms of standings because of how it's kind of tight here. San Francisco's a team that can go on a run. We know this. They're getting healthier. They got Christian McCaffrey back. Yes, they escaped with a victory against Tampa Bay this past week. Who cares? They got the dub. And you got San Francisco coming up next week. And that, well, there's a chance that game could flip-flop standings for Green Bay and San Francisco. Miami's still believing they can make a run to get into the postseason. That could be a dangerous one at Detroit. So that's why I look at this, because I think the margin of error is so small that, you can't get away with shooting yourself in the foot consistently against good teams. That's the thing too in this thing is Green Bay, and we could throw penalties into this too. Like penalties, clean that crap up. Are they going to be able to clean that crap up in the second half? That's probably a big question over there too. Should have mentioned that one earlier. Penalties. But overall, will they just stop shooting themselves in the foot, specifically in offense? Because if you're going up against teams like San Francisco, Detroit, and you consistently stop yourself from being a good team, they will expose that. You can't do that. You got to play clean football in almost every single one of these games, in these final 8 games, to put yourself in a position to get to the postseason. That margin of error is so thin. It's so small where they can't get away with, having a couple hiccups here. Pressure is on. And that's maybe another one we knew heading into the season. This young team was going to have a bullseye on its back. They weren't going to surprise anybody like they did last year in that second half run. They came into the season, a lot of fanfare, a lot of high expectations, some even picking them to go to the Super Bowl and such. And now they are in a tough fight in the NFC. How can this young team with not a lot of experience, some guys have some playoff experience, but not a ton. How can this young team handle that pressure still? And I think the pressure's gotten a little bit higher. You know, they came into this season with a lot of pressure, but I think it's up a little bit more because that margin of error is so small for these final 8 games because of how tough the NFC is. Can they handle that pressure? All right, let's take a quick break. What do you think? What do you got? Hit me up with some texts, all right? 715-830-1912. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back to wrap up the first hour after these few words. It's deer season, and we know that the main goal is to get that trophy deer, but what should you do after you get your deer? Easy, simple. Take it to Mike's Star Market in Eau Claire. Whether you're looking to get some bacon made, maybe some steaks or snack sticks, Mike's has options for anyone when it comes to getting your deer processed. And if you have a full freezer and you want to donate your deer to those in need, Mike's Star Market is your deer donation site. Best of luck this deer hunting season. And remember, once you get that deer, bring it on into Mike's Star Market because you know you will be getting the best quality products in return. And speaking of hunting season, of course, don't forget time's running out though. But if you got to make a stop to our good friends at Tilden Gun, make sure you go and do that. All right, Tilden Gun. Maybe you're looking for a new rifle, used rifle, or maybe some ammo or any other accessories, or maybe you're even starting to think about some Christmas gifts over there. Huh? Yeah, exactly. Got to start thinking about that. Tilden Gun, go give our good friends over there a visit. 12427 90th Avenue in Chippewa Falls. Tomorrow, too, by the way. So, our good buddy Jake Boakes, DNR warden, we do this every year, but he's going to be in studio tomorrow for an extended talk, answering your questions, getting set for the deer gun season, which is coming up here next week, all right, next weekend. But if you have any questions, or maybe you got questions for something else, send those on in. I'll even let you start to send them on in now, so we can get a big list of here because he's gonna take some time, extra time, and be in studio tomorrow to help answer any questions you may have getting set for the deer gun season or anything else out there, fishing wise or like that. So don't be shy, don't be nervous, don't think it's a stupid question because you don't want to get in trouble afterwards, right? You can remain anonymous and all that. We don't have to say your name. But if you have any questions, text those on over. That's the easiest way to text them to me at 715-830-1912. Okay. So Jake will be in studio shortly after 8 o'clock tomorrow. Again, he's doing this to help everybody out. So we appreciate that and taking some extra time to make sure that we are ready to hit the woods. Golly, coming up. It's even though it's later in the season, I feel like it's just coming fast now. So, how the trail cams looking for everybody out there? Mine have kind of slowed down. I feel like the rut was. What's the rut report for everybody out there too? I feel like mine was like really like quick, come and gone. But I don't know. Maybe it's different. I saw some people saying it was already done in northwestern Wisconsin on some of those Facebook group pages over there. So, all right. What are your biggest question marks, concerns, if you have any, with this Packers team heading into the second half of the season? Ben is saying my biggest question mark will be, can this team clean miscues and penalties that have been holding back the offense all season long? Eric is saying that my biggest question mark is which version of Jordan Love will we see? I do think his knee injuries and his groin injury has affected his play so far this year. So hopefully the bye week has done him some good and he's as close to 100% as possible. Another one, no name, can't give any credit, but texter saying, my biggest question mark will be, does Green Bay still stay committed to the running game with Josh Jacobs, especially when the weather gets colder? That's a good one too. Yeah. You know, when you look at it, you've got one, two, three, well, 4 December games and 1 January game. A couple of those are at home. 3 of them are at a controlled environment. But even, if we add in Miami at the end of November there too, right? You got a bruising running back with Jacobs, isn't afraid to take some hits and dish some hits. Defenders, when they're cold, they don't want to have to deal with that. But that's a good point. Yeah. Will they stay committed to the running game with Josh Jacobs over there? I like that one. Send me your name so I can give you some credit over there too. So, but you can keep those coming. Okay. Whether it's on the video stream or on the texting line here. We'll talk some hoops coming up next hour or two with the Bucks picking up a win. They're back at it tonight. We'll go over the latest rumors and rumblings, if there is any, latest rumors and rumblings surrounding the trade markets for this Bucks team. Also, we got some baseball talk coming here. We'll also get you the latest rumors and hot stove stuff out there as well. Got some stock risers. Who or what stock is rising? If you had to pick one or maybe a couple, whose or what stock is rising? Spit it out, Dan, for you in the past few days here. Can be team, can be player, can be whatever. Okay. Sports wise, let us know. Hit me up. Okay. We'll get to those coming up. We'll probably do that in the next hour, maybe just around 8 o'clock here this morning. So we'll hit that up over here too. A couple more texts before we call off the first hour here. But this is from John. John saying biggest question mark is definitely going to be Jordan Love. Speaking of question marks, Morgan is in. Morgan.
What? No exclamation points?
No.
What about a comma?
How about colon?
How about an ellipse? You just don't know. ...
There you go. That's what those are called, the ellipse?
Yeah, an ellipse.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say ... but I didn't know if that was.
That's called an ellipse. And I can tell you, apparently, I didn't know this, but apparently using those in texts are a sign that you're like boomer. I use them all the time.
I use them all the
Instead
time.
of like starting a new text or, whatever, I just go ... and like continue the thought. Apparently that's like a red flag that you're a boomer. Why
is a boomer a negative?
Well, I'm just saying the kids don't use ellipse as much.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I hear anyway. That's what Siggy tells me.
Okay.
Which are you an emoticon guy? Like, do you send emojis?
Not really.
Okay.
But I've been trying to do it just because I feel like some people take text the wrong way because it's hard to
convey tone.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So
and
that's
I think
when I've started to do that a little bit more.
If you picked up your phone right now, what's your number one used emoji? Like what comes
Probably
up?
the laughing one, just because I think some people kind of like, dry sense of humor, sarcasm sort of thing. And it comes off hard on a text.
Well, plus your face betrays you because you kind of have a face that like little RBF all the time. So I can see why you would send that.
Thanks.
Well, it's true.
Well.
But if you had to think,
would you rather have that or just always a happy face?
Which is almost creepier.
Like the Joker, where it's always like a smile on his face.
Yeah, that's a little bit creepier, huh?
No.
I think the shrug is mine. The shrug emoji is probably my most used one.
Mm-hmm.
But I was reading this study about texting habits. So Hudson doesn't have a phone yet?
No.
Okay.
No.
Do you think when he gets a phone that he will be like you and that it's like always with him? And does he want one?
He hasn't said. He's got a watch that he can like sync up with his friends and they can play like games or something like that.
Okay.
And he takes photos on it. Like he loves it.
Oh, so he's like a tech kid?
Yeah.
I think all kids are tech kids just because it's so ingrained into their generation.
He knows how to use one because when we were coming back from a power game, he was actually texting his mom using my phone.
Okay. Did he like it?
It takes him a little bit to type. I think that frustrates him.
Okay.
Like spelling wise. Funny part was that she didn't know it was him.
That is kind of funny.
Yeah.
So overall, are you on team tech, or if somebody said, you know what, I'll give you $1 million to not use your phone this year, would you take the trade off?
I would take the trade off in a heartbeat.
What's your cutoff monetarily to get rid of your phone? Because like I don't even know where mine is half the time. I don't care about it.
If I could get away and I can still keep my job, like not get in trouble.
Right.
Okay. Tech, 100,000.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like $10. Sure, take it. I don't even care. My threshold's way lower, but so this investment question that you have today, I have a different question. Like whose stock is going up? Who do you think came out so overrated and was the greatest disappointment?
Came out and was a great for the Packers?
Yeah, for the Packers.
Biggest disappointment for me is probably Rashawn Gary right now.
Okay.
Or Kenny Clark, one of those two. And biggest like surprise, maybe
yeah.
sort of thing. Probably I'd go like Evan Williams, a safety rookie.
Okay. Yeah. Why the biggest disappointments? What's the major reason that you would put him on the take a dump list?
Because with the new defense, a lot of us expected that was going to be better suited for them, and I'd throw Quay Walker in there too, and it really hasn't.
Okay.
It really hasn't so far.
So now we know what emoji you're sending with that.
Yes.
The number 2.
And
the pile.
The RBF.
That's your signature look, Casper.
Man. Second hour kicking off on this Wednesday morning of November 13th. Coming up, we're going to talk some hoops. The Bucks actually picked up a win, their third of the season. You know what? Maybe they can get a winning streak going of 2 games in a row tonight as they take on the Detroit Pistons. Bucks getting it done last night with no Damian Lillard. He was in concussion protocol. Doc Rivers adjusting the starting lineup again. Ryan Rollins getting his first career start. AJ Green was in the starting lineup along with Giannis and Brook Lopez and Prince over there. So we'll see what the lineup looks like tonight as the Bucks will welcome the Detroit Pistons to Milwaukee. We'll talk some hoops coming up here in a little bit. We've got MLB awards season continuing. William Contreras picking up another Silver Slugger award, second year in a row. Remember that award goes to the best hitter at their positions over there. So another Brewer member picking up some hardware. As we know, Matt Arnold was selected as Executive of the Year. We had Bryce Harang winning the Gold Glove and Platinum Glove, which is awarded via fan vote to the best overall defender in their leagues. And then Sal Frelick also winning a Gold Glove. We'll find out next week if Pat Murphy is Manager of the Year, as voted on by the baseball players. He did win the Sporting News one, which is voted on by managers. And then, of course, Rookie of the Year awards. Jackson Chourio is a finalist. Those are all handed out next week. But we'll go through some of the latest rumors and rumblings with this hot stove season. Also, we're making a turn on this week. Whose stock is rising right now? Whose stock is maybe pointing in the right direction, pointing up or trending in a positive way, in a good way? Hit us up with those texts, 715-830-1912, or hit us up on socials, emails, video streams, all that fun stuff over there too. So a bunch of different ways for you to join in on the conversation. Plus, we were talking some football in the first hour, as it is Bears week here and such. College football playoff, new updated standings over there. We've got not a little bit of movement here with some of this. I don't know if this will hold, but right now the first team out, Georgia. Lucas, first team out is Georgia. That would be something in an expanded college football playoff if Georgia's not in this thing. I think the world would unless you're a Georgia fan, but maybe the world would be one happy place for once. Something different.
A little wild how this has changed even in the past 7 years or so, because that role would have been held by Clemson or Alabama, and there was this thought of, well, it's always going to be them, and Georgia's always going to win the recruiting rankings, and never did. Now it's Georgia who's in that role.
Yeah.
Clemson actually would be to the point of, hey, cool, they made it in. It cycles. That's the thing with with these teams. They're not always going to be in their same spots.
Loaded a Big Ten, in case you're wondering again too. So like the top 5 teams are different than what the brackets show, because, well, I mean, it's, you got a conference winners get the top seeds there. So Oregon still 1. Texas is 2, BYU is 3, Miami, even with their losses, still at 4. Ohio State's the 5 seed. You got Penn State as the 6 seed, and then Indiana as the 7 seed. And in this scenario right now, Indiana would take on Alabama, which is interesting considering Indiana's head coach is a Nick Saban disciple too. So that'd be interesting.
I will say, and I mean, maybe it's just how my brain is working on this, but it is awkward having the rankings and the bracket, which are different.
Right. I know, right? Can we get rid of the rankings and just have the bracket?
BYU is 6. They are 3. They are number 3.
Right.
Wait. Well, what? But that's how it works. I mean, I don't know exactly how you do it any other way, because people are going to focus on the rankings versus the seeds. That hopefully would change, given that in college basketball, we're successfully able to pay more attention to seeds than rankings. Well, I mean, they can coexist, but bracketology has established seeds as a significant factor. I think we have to go through a year of this, of the actual games and the actual seeds go, okay, how does you again use the 3? How does the 3 seed perform? And then once we figure out, oh, okay, so your first round's a quarterfinal, then next year maybe the seedings will make more of a difference than the rankings, I guess. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I if we're gonna do both, like the only thing that matters right now is like the bracket, right?
Right, because
That's the only
Miami,
thing-
gosh, they're out of the top 4. They're actually a 4 seed.
Right, and it's like Indiana's a 5. They're ranked 5th, but then they're the 7th seed. So
Right.
it's like, wait a minute.
Which
Yeah,
what?
Yeah.
So it's still a little confusing, but let's first time through. I put a mulligan on everything until we get to the national championship, and then we'll see how it all goes and reassess or whatever.
Right. So, but hey, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't mind if it was if Indiana can stay in this thing. Okay, so if Indiana loses to Ohio State, do you think they're still in the college football playoff? If they win everything else, but they lose to Ohio State, I almost feel like the voters are just going to punish Indiana. Be like, yep, see, that's why they weren't the real thing.
It's a little bit of the kick them out just so we can have our
Georgias in and all that stuff.
Big name brands bringing lots of money and ratings. Yeah. If Indiana is crushed, if it's 45-3, yeah. If it's a close game, honestly,
keep them in. Right?
Probably only if it's close. And this is how college football science works and has for many decades. Let's see what happens on the other end too. Can Ole Miss hold on? What if Ole Miss? Who's Mississippi playing this week?
Who's Ole Miss playing?
I'm just throwing that out there right on the fly.
Die-hard Ole Miss fan right here. So they're playing. They have an off week, so they've got Florida coming up on the 23rd.
They're safe.
Yep.
If they were to, so that's a bad example. I was going to say, like, that's a team.
Because Indiana has an off week too. So
okay, like if Alabama has another loss, Georgia has a bad game or something like that, Miami has a second straight big loss. I don't think Indiana's going to get throttled below them if they have a close loss to Ohio State. That proves more like, oh, you went up against the Buckeyes and almost beat them, Indiana. That's going to help them. But they can't afford a blowout. That might be enough. Again, unless weird stuff happens. Weird stuff always happens, but you don't know when it's going to happen.
Right. Yeah, I think that actually helps out Indiana here just to have the bye week to help prepare for their Ohio State game that's next Saturday. That might actually help them out here. So, I mean, yeah, if it's a close loss to Ohio State, then they play Purdue for the final one, and then I'd pick Indiana to win that one.
Yeah.
They get one loss, keep them in there.
I know that's the old Oaken Bucket, I believe that is.
Yeah. Keep them in there, you cowards. For crying out loud.
Come on, we need SEC and big name Big Ten teams. Nothing but that.
It is still weird to say 4 of the 5 ranked team, top 5 of the top 5, 4 of the Big Ten. Still weird to say that because you got to factor in Oregon.
Yeah.
But even if you take Oregon out of it, because they're a new one, 3 of the original 5 are top 5.
I mean, outside of them, the next newbie is not in the top 25. Washington State is doing better than the new Big Ten teams.
Yeah.
Sure, there are some Wazoo fans are like, yep, cool, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I don't think we're gonna. I mean, I don't want to say this is a worst case scenario because what does it really mean? But is there some effort to try to get the bigger names in the top 12 to try to push out like an Indiana? Maybe. I mean, Ole Miss being SEC, having Lane Kiffin, they do have heritage and college football lore.
Well, especially like their first year with the expanded one. Like, are they going to want all those big names in there?
You
know what I mean? Like,
you kind of do and you kind of don't also because
right.
It's all of them. It's a little boring. On the other hand, as we saw with the World Series, as we see all the time in sports, bigger names bring bigger ratings. You don't necessarily, from a business point of view, you don't want Kansas State, Indiana in the national championship.
Right.
I mean, is there some way you can get Coach Prime up there? Hey, only 5 spots away.
I don't know. Kurt Cignetti's kind of becoming a media fave over there too with some of how he does his pressers and interviews.
Yeah.
So his name's getting out there a little bit more. I wouldn't be surprised if his name gets attached to if there's any quote unquote bigger openings out there now.
Probably so. Well, hey, and Deion's going to the Cowboys, obviously.
That Okay.
When did you have the same reaction, like the throw up in your mouth thing when you heard Rex Ryan do that thing? You're just like, no, that is not what America needs right now.
It's not what America needs right now, but can you imagine if Prime's back in the Big D? They already have how many prime time? I can already see the marketing.
Oh,
prime
God.
time. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I know. They got their max, but can you imagine the over? The thing is I guess I wouldn't put it past Jerry Jones anymore now because I think he's going crazy.
Yeah, probably. I mean, there's going to be a different coach. Sorry, Mike, you're going.
Yeah, I think I think Jerry's on the tailspin right now. Something's going wrong with Jerry Jones here.
I would not do the following, but the thought crosses my mind of, do I take next year as an NFL sabbatical if that happens? Just like, I can't handle the hype.
The thing is, you would tune in the first game just to see it.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, everybody would tune in just to see what it would look like.
Highest rated Cowboys game ever?
Probably is, because you know what the NFL would do too. They would probably make sure it's like a 49ers game to open up, their season, or some matchup like that. Because you got the Deion 49ers background too.
Yeah.
Or something. Something that would be a premier matchup. Yeah. Just to add a little bit extra. It's not going to be like if Deion's coaching Dallas, they're not going to open up the season against the Jaguars.
And to take it one step further, it'll be Thursday night, everything's set up, and then somehow the 49ers will end up with like 6 injuries, and Dak will be 1 week behind and won't be able to play the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can script this out. At the risk of going too far away from college football, maybe you may have already talked about this, but the Mike McCarthy legacy assessment, the way this is all gone now, looking kind of worse at this point.
I don't know. I honestly kind of feel bad for Mike McCarthy because, first of all, my biggest question for McCarthy or for the Cowboys would be who actually hired Mike Zimmer, because he is a former Cowboy coach. Was that a Jerry Jones push to bring back Mike to the Cowboys family? Because that Dan Quinn loss was obviously a huge loss, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, their defense stinks. I feel bad for Mike in the sense of his team gave Dak Prescott the hugest contract for a quarterback. They gave CeeDee Lamb a huge contract. Jerry Jones refused to go after Derrick Henry because he, quote, cost too much. What? So you're regretting that now, aren't you? Mm-hmm. And trying to patch it up with Zeke Elliott and Dalvin Cook. So I actually kind of feel bad for McCarthy in the sense that I don't think he was given the greatest hand. Now, does that exonerate him from some of his coaching decisions? No, it doesn't. But I also think in this case, you look at the GM and you got the owner out there saying, earlier in the season, well, if there was a better GM out there that was available, then he'd have the job, but there's not. Okay. Well, you stink as a GM and you stunk as a GM for a long time. He has. He really has.
Yeah.
So I feel bad for him in a sense too, because, and not like, oh, he's gotten ragged his role. No, he's got a Super Bowl. He's got a lot of money. He's got a lot of wins. Blah blah blah. But to go and he got to coach 2 iconic franchises in Green Bay and Dallas, right? But the thing is like he goes from Green Bay to where he worked for a general manager that didn't want to talk to the media, had the approach of building through the draft, which was frustrating in a lot of aspects, but since he didn't do pressers and didn't talk to the media, Mike McCarthy was the voice of the franchise, right? Mm-hmm. He had to answer for those questions. Then towards the end, he had to deal with the passive aggressiveness of his quarterback and Aaron Rodgers. So, he moves on from that situation, small town, smallest team in the league, goes to the complete opposite in Dallas, which, I mean, still big fanfare and all that, but you have an owner that is the general manager that, is willing to spend all this money, but maybe not in the proper way, but is one that will do all of the talking and even talking about you. So there was like no middle ground between these two coaching stops for him. You know what I mean? Like there was no middle ground between the two. He went from one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
And I would love Mike McCarthy when it's all said and done I would read Mike McCarthy's autobiography if it was juicy about Green Bay and Dallas. Like I really wanted to know, okay, did that meeting with Jerry Jones when he got hired, did it really consist of burgers and beers? And there's got to be some good stories. There's got to be some good stories from Mike McCarthy.
I don't think he's ever going to do that.
No, he won't. But that would be amazing because I feel like there's some good ones in there.
I will say, at least I don't sense he's getting as much blame this year, oddly, compared to other years in Dallas. It seems to be going more on Jerry Jones this year. Maybe we finally crystallized the sentiment to the point of, oh, yeah, it really is him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's always been there. It's not like suddenly people went, wait, what? Jerry Jones did this? But that seems to be more the knock of, what did you do to this team? And that's not helping Mike McCarthy, but it's not helping a whole lot of other aspects. So while McCarthy is almost certainly gone, and maybe it's because so many people figured McCarthy's gone, there's no point in assessing it anymore. So maybe that's actually not a good thing. But that would not be a good thing. But I'm not sensing as much criticism this year.
We almost could do a top 5 of this season alone of what the heck did Jerry Jones just say? Like the whole curtain gate now with, CeeDee Lamb with the whole, sun was in his eyes and Jerry Jones like, what, you wanted to tear us down? But, that to...
Which, again, I'm actually a little bit more on his side with it, but the way you say it,
But U.S. Bank Stadium's got curtains.
Well, and right, and also like there's other context to a lot of this. Is there some way you could put down even a translucent sort of thing? I don't know what I mean.
Or maybe somebody that built that should realize, hey, the sun sets this way. Maybe we should flip it.
Maybe
sort of thing. I don't know, but that, or what did he say? Was it earlier this week or last week too about Mike McCarthy about because he's going to get asked every week about making a coaching change, which I think is kind of funny because Jerry Jones doesn't have a history of everybody assumes he does, but he doesn't really have a history of letting guys go really quick. That short leash.
Mm-hmm.
But what did he say? He's like, the only time I made an in-season coach firing was Wade Phillips, and I regretted that. Should have let him finish off season. And I'm like, did you really? Because that allowed you to have your boy Jason Garrett take over the team. And then he mentioned, he's like, yeah, and then I fired Chan Gailey after 2 years and I regretted that. I'm like, do you really? I mean, what do you really hear what you're saying right now? And then the whole Derrick Henry thing. Yeah, he was too expensive.
There's more to come.
Come on.
Oh, this season's not done. There are more quotes potentially in the category here. Also, there is a somewhat legitimate chance that the Mike McCarthy, Aaron Rodgers NFL era will end after this season.
Yeah.
In tandem.
Maybe those two should do a podcast together.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know how that would go. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even imagine that.
Right.
But yeah, it might be done. Like you could see Aaron Rodgers deciding after the year, all right, fine, I'm done. McCarthy's almost certainly done. And so again, if you had told if we were doing this show 10 years ago, which in a way we kind of were. So if you had said after 2024, Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers will be done in kind of a petering out way with 2 other teams. I guess in one way that kind of makes sense because that's the way a lot of NFL careers, a lot of sports careers go.
Mm-hmm.
But would you have believed it have gone quite that way 10 years ago? Maybe, but I don't know that you would have.
Right.
That would have been 2014. I was going into, of course, a pretty good year.
Yep. Speaking of Rodgers, I'm going to play a clip. I'm going to take a quick break, but he was on good old Pat show yesterday. I had some fun with this one on Twitter. I don't know if you saw what he said. Don't look it up yet.
He's been saying a lot of stuff.
He's been saying a lot of stuff.
At least nothing that's like, oh my gosh, crisis controversial stuff, but he's been saying stuff.
He's been an idiot is what it is right now.
Yeah.
So I'll say it. He's been an idiot. So, but not to make this a whole Aaron thing. I got to bring this up. Okay. I got to bring this up because it does relate to Green Bay. So I got to first. Okay. But get ready for this.
Oh boy.
Get ready for this. Yeah. All right. Quick break. We'll be back here in just a couple minutes. It's about that time of year again where we're making our lists of what to get for who this Christmas season. And this year, maybe think a little bit outside the box. Whether you or maybe you're an employer looking for gifts to give all of your employees, or maybe you want to get some shirts or tumblers made up for your family and friends. Hey, Resonance Branding Company has the hookup. They have something for everyone. And check this. You only got a couple days left to take advantage of this. But if you order from now until November 15th and mention the code word Casper or my name, they will give you 10% off your order. So check them out by visiting resonancebrandingcompany.com, or you can stop by their shop at 1728 Spooner Avenue, Suite C in Altoona. Again, this is perfect for maybe you're an employer too that's like, you know what, it's time to get my staff some new shirts, or maybe some tumblers or such, or maybe you want to get some stuff made up for the family for some Christmas ideas. Take advantage of this deal with Resonance Branding Company, only up till November 15th. Mention Casper and they'll give you 10% off your order. All right, so this was yesterday. They started off. I can't play the first clip because typical Pat drops F-bombs, so I don't want to get in trouble.
No,
unless if it was you doing it, that's fine, Luke. Then you can get in trouble. But you could take the bullet for this. But,
not me.
So it essentially what I think they were talking about was the Colt situation with Anthony Richardson. Okay, tapping himself out and all that sort of stuff. So this was a little bit what Aaron said, and there's a reason I want to bring this up. Okay, so here he is, audio courtesy, Pat McAfee show. All right, so that's the from the show. My question is, did you all of a sudden have Alanis Morissette ringing in your head saying, "Isn't that ironic?" Like I did.
Name on your wedding day.
Yeah. I mean, like when I saw that and I listened, I'm like, wait a minute here. Wait a minute. Because there was like at least 3 of the 4 things, and at least he acknowledges like, yeah, some we've kind of, but there was 3 that really stood out to me. It's like they were kind of some big issues from Aaron that violated some of those team rules, don't you think?
Yeah, I think he was going down like where he said some of it, like it was very broad based, where he was acknowledging what he has done without point blank saying it, because that would have made news.
Yeah.
On the other hand, he didn't ignore that potentially he could have done that, because that would have made news.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of said, yeah, and there's some of us that have done that. If you're around long enough, it's going to happen. So he's kind of saying it's, and then of course that doesn't really make as much news, which I guess is ironic given that Aaron Rodgers' MO of late has been to make news.
Yeah.
Whether he's always trying to do that or not, I think it's more the former than the latter. Yeah, I did have that same reaction of,
The 3 out of the 4 that stood out to me was put the team first. I go back to the holdout, if you will, in Green Bay, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, doing that. The no excuses and no complaining. Same year, that hour-long presser saying how essentially he would do the job differently at general manager and complaining how Green Bay treated players.
That was legendary.
Yeah. And be a good teammate, which my thing is with that, and this is just from the outside, and I know it's probably not the fairest thing to do, but that's what we have to do here. Is if you're not in his circle of close friends / teammates, he may not be the greatest teammate in the world.
Mm-mm.
I mean, how many times this year too, and over the years in Green Bay, it's the two-worded body language sort of thing where he's barking at teammates. You don't see him barking at guys like Devontae or anything, right? He doesn't yell at them, but he'll yell at other guys, or the whole, rookie thing, trust factor sort of. Some guys take it, maybe embrace it, but I feel like if you're on the outside of that Aaron Rodgers circle, he may not be your best favorite teammate in the world.
Well, and fully assess this, it is possible that he is making a proper assessment, even understanding that he knows, and delving back into what does he mean, Aaron Rodgers psychoanalytical assessments here, but maybe he is saying what's true, which those four things, best as any of us who've never been in an NFL or really any sports locker room, take it out of that sport, and that league, I think those are all accurate things. Like there's nothing you go, well, not really. No, that all makes sense. You can say that knowing that you're not really doing that. It now, depending on your position, it gets a little dicier if you know you're violating some of that, because you can be very easily called out on that. But I think a lot of us can properly evaluate something and go, yeah, and actually I'm kind of not really doing that, even though it's the right thing. It's tough. It's sometimes tough to follow. Mm-hmm. That's probably what's going on here. Unless he's so egotistical that he really doesn't realize what he's doing. But that's where he's at, like, and when you've been around long enough, that thing where he allowed room to acknowledge what he's probably done in violation of those four. Mm-hmm. What did he call them? The four.
The game within the game.
Yes.
Sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. The four game within a game.
Which was interesting that he mentioned, he's like, I don't know if this was a Shanahan thing because we had it in Green Bay. So, I mean, really, it was only a couple of years in Green Bay, right? So, I mean, this was interesting in that aspect, that just the timing-wise, it worked out for that. But, you mentioned Ted Thompson in there, too, about, how Ted Thompson said always embrace the team. And this was something in my mind. If, let's say Ted Thompson was still general manager the last couple of years in Green Bay or whatever of Aaron Rodgers' tenure, does Aaron become that because a lot of, if you ask a lot of Packers fans, they'd be like, what happened the last few years in Green Bay with Aaron, right? Like there was a change. My question is, because it sure seems like Aaron has a ton of respect for Ted, and I don't know if it's just because Ted was the guy who drafted him and et cetera there. Does Aaron fall in line a little bit more if Ted's still there? Whereas, Goody comes in, it's like, hey, this is a new GM. I'm Aaron Rodgers. I can push my way a little bit. You know what I'm trying to get at?
You respect it's like a certain teacher, a certain father figure,
It's like, yeah, the high schoolers, substitutes in today. We're going to screw around with this person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or maybe you get a new boss at work and it's like, okay, we're going to see how much we can get away with.
Mm-hmm. And if there's a certain mentor who always knows how to handle you a certain way, and the next person doesn't.
Right.
And then the chemistry's off.
Right.
That's probably what happened. I mean, you could start to go into, well, it was also during the pandemic, and the pandemic screwed up, and I don't mean that in a like they're bad, but the pandemic screwed up a lot of people because it was the freaking pandemic. A lot of weird stuff happened, understandably so. That could have been part of it.
Well,
too. I mean, there's a lot of stuff.
Well, to be fair, I mean, Goody started in 18.
Right.
2018. And so that was kind of like, then that was only the half year of like McCarthy. Was it 18 or 17? Something like that.
Yeah.
But McCarthy didn't finish off the season in 18. And that's when he really started to get the whole body language, Aaron Rodgers stuff over there. And then the whole offseason of like, well, Aaron wants this type of coach. It reminded me so much of the Favre types. I remember back in the day, well, it was like Favre wanted Mariucci. Nope, we're not getting Mariucci. It's going to be Mike Sherman or it was Mike McCarthy. Yeah. It's like after Mike Sherman, he wants Mariucci. Well, no. I mean, you can't hire your friends to be head coaches, for crying out loud. So, but I was wondering, because I've never really heard Aaron say and all of his passive aggressiveness tones and quotes anything towards Ted, really.
No.
And I don't know if it's just that respect factor because, he was the guy that drafted him, even though he didn't have to. And that just, I don't know. But part of me now is wondering, like, okay, if Ted was still general manager those last couple of years of Aaron's time in Green Bay, maybe Aaron's still there, I don't know. But would there have been this much, like, what the heck happened to Aaron sort of thing? And maybe Ted kind of filled that father role for him because we know the whole estrangement sort of thing. I know maybe I'm grasping at straws here, but, I don't know. I don't know.
Because he is, and you may have kind of answered this, but of significant figures, we'll say, in the Packers organization, there are a lot of people, so he's not going to comment on literally everyone he ever encounters. Was Ted Thompson the least, I guess, criticized, high-profile member of the Green Bay Packers organization, player, coach, front office personnel in Aaron Rodgers' time? Or was there someone else that he seemed to like even more or criticize less?
You're saying that Aaron criticized?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say because fans criticize Ted all the time.
Oh, of course. Which
time.
That also leads to the thought of, I'm sure there are probably a good number of folks listening right now going, no, we don't want more Ted Thompson. If Ted had stuck around and if Aaron Rodgers was okay with them, blah, 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 but then we got Ted.
Right.
And I mean, rest in peace. Yeah, but boy, was that frustrating for a lot of Packers fans heck, almost his entire tenure. Back to the Fire Ted Thompson salad days of 2008. Would you trade? I mean, yes, there is a physical factor going on with Ted Thompson. So take the medical, take the physical out of it.
Yep. Take the health stuff. Yep.
Correct. Would you trade Ted Thompson leaving when he did? Let's say he just straight up like, okay, I'm done. And then everything we've seen for the past several years for Ted Thompson sticks around, is general manager to this day, November 2024. But then perhaps relations with Aaron Rodgers are better, and Aaron Rodgers is about to wrap up his entire career as a Green Bay Packer, having had those MVP years, but is probably on better terms. But Ted is still the GM. Which would you rather?
I think I would rather take what we got right now, to be honest with you.
And that's involving probably less Aaron Rodgers drama, to be honest.
Less Aaron Rodgers drama, but also less maybe free agency. Maybe, maybe I don't know what type of coach Ted would have hired at that point. Would he have stayed with I don't know. But here's the thing. I'm happy.
Ted would have been going on 72 in a couple months if he were still with us today. So he probably wouldn't have been general manager even if he was in perfect health as is.
The thing is, he wouldn't even be the oldest general manager, though, right now.
Who's the older one?
It's got to be Jerry Jones.
Well, yeah.
Back to Jerry Jones right now, right?
Gosh, yeah. Somehow it all does come back to Jerry Jones. Yeah, I think that's probably the right answer. I mean, we don't know exactly how Aaron Rodgers' health would have progressed. Would have gone exactly the same way? Like, of course, he's not having an Achilles after 4 plays of the 2023 season. The odds of that happening with him still a Packers quarterback, extremely, extremely long. So that doesn't happen. But is he still turn of the decade MVP level Aaron Rodgers? I don't know. Is he better than Jordan Love right now? And I know that's not the greatest question to ask right after I know we're now a week and a half removed, but after that Lions game, I know that's not the best time to ask, but would you rather have Jordan Love right now than Aaron Rodgers somewhat healthier?
Oh, yeah.
Probably. I mean, there's also a future career aspect to this too. The Packers would have to be excellent at this point. And if it's not that, then you probably take what ended up actually happening,
right?
Real life.
I forgot. I forgot that Mike Brown is the general manager for the Bengals too. Owner, GM.
It's another sketchy owner situation.
I think he's still the general manager. Yeah.
So basically the rule is don't be a general manager if you're also the owner. Tends not to always work too well.
It might have worked back in the day, Red Auerbach or whatever, that sort of stuff. No, not
I mean,
anymore.
maybe George Steinbrenner. I know he had, but you're also New York, so you can. I mean, it doesn't always work that well. There's a reason why general managers are hired to be general managers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let them run the football operations.
Let them cook.
Right? Let them cook. Let's ride. So.
Side note, I'm glad Russ hasn't really blown up any Pittsburgh Steelers traditions this year.
Not yet, no.
Okay,
I mean, it looked like he was going to in his first start, that pregame interview that everybody was talking about, like, oh, here we go. It was just very AI, artificial until I don't know if you saw that.
I did not, and I
yeah, it was just very okay, intense, robotic.
Very Russ.
Thing. Yes, exactly.
Because I know exactly what we're talking about.
Crap. But then it's been kind of quiet after that.
Yeah,
so
he's just doing his job.
What I don't know. Have they had a Sunday Night Football game yet?
They had, let's see, they had the Monday Nighter.
What's his intro say these days?
Oh gosh, now I'm gonna have to watch for that. Well, because he hasn't had as much because they had Justin Fields before that, so it would have been that one game. I guess I have to either YouTube
it or a whole pack of Badgers.
It's gotta be.
Yeah,
it's been a career-long thing.
Or how does he sign off on pressers? Maybe that's the best way, because it was always, let's ride, or go Broncos or go Hawks or whatever.
Well, he's got the a week from tomorrow night. He's got the game at Cleveland.
Okay,
so that's kind of an Well, they're not going to have the same exact
sign off, I should say.
There are no Sunday Night Football games left on the Steelers schedule. Of course, they could be flexed given how they're doing this year.
Which could really have. They're like Chicago. They have not played a division game yet,
and they are loaded.
Yep, they got Baltimore coming up this weekend. So,
but I'm not sure if they're going to be able to be flexed, given that outside of that Bengals game, I think there's probably a lot of.
Well, when do they play the Ravens besides this week?
On December 21st, but that's already a 3:30 game.
Okay.
So I'm sure that's not going to be pulled.
So CBS is going to protect that one, is what you're saying?
I have to admit. Steelers, Ravens, in and of itself, take out any players. They would want that, and then add in who these teams are this year. There's no way they're going to allow that game to be moved.
Right.
Then after that, Christmas against Kansas City.
Oh yeah, that's
maybe maybe we'll get it on January 5th if that game is determining a playoff spot, and could see that being the case. So maybe we'll get to watch that on Sunday Night Football on January 5th.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Green Bay's games, I mean, they're getting the prime treatment now after all of our glory of noon games here. That was so amazing. We still got one more this week.
Well, at least you're not Ohio State fans. The national crisis that is 11 o'clock kickoffs.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, think of the children. Wow.
But hey, you got Brady Burkhardt again this weekend. Then you got Brady Burkhardt again next week against San Francisco. Then it's Thanksgiving night at NBC. Then it's Thursday Night Football against Detroit. Sunday Night Football against Seattle. Monday Night Football against the New Orleans Saints. So, and then there's a decent chance that Minnesota, Chicago might have some flexibility.
There's a noon game, but you could see Packers Vikings getting flexed. And again, we don't know about the last game of the season.
Right.
Though I would think the way the Bears are trending this year.
Yeah, if Chicago continues to stink, it'll stay a noon one, hopefully.
Doubt that. I mean, it may go 325 if it's just a matter of playoff seedings and you try to match those up, but that's not going to become the Sunday night game that night.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, if at that point Green Bay's got something locked up, it'll be a noon one. If they got something like winning in, it'll be a 3:30.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So
right.
But you got a lot of Brady and Burkhardts and primetime stuff.
I guess plenty of opportunities to assess them.
Yeah, I guess.
Further. Yeah. So, get excited.
Wonder how many times Brady's going to say this week, I almost went to Chicago.
I'm putting the over-under at 0.5. I'm going low this time.
I think he's an owner now. He can't say that stuff, right?
That's right. See, so I'm taking the under. Bam.
Yeah. I did find it really quick interesting. I know I mentioned it, but like the last Packer game when he kind of disagreed with an official and people were like, is he going to get fined? But then like later on, they brought back Dean Blandino to explain it in more depth. Brady was silenced throughout that whole thing.
Ooh.
He didn't say anything during that segment.
They got to him.
Conspiracy theory crap. The NFL probably called in and said, hey, bring Dean on, talk about it. Brady, zip it.
You're an owner.
You're an owner.
We don't care.
All right, we got to take our final break here for the second hour. We'll wrap things up. Got off on some tangents, but that's okay.
As usual.
As usual. We'll be back in just a couple minutes to finish up the second hour. How many of you listening right now have younger kids? Well, if you got younger kids, that means you've got some kids running around doing some wear and tear on your flooring, your carpets, maybe some of the hardwood over there, black marks all over the place. Point is, your floors can take a beating, or maybe you got the fur kids doing the same thing too. Especially if you have those, your floors could take a beating, especially if you have those younger kids playing around or riding their bike around the house too. But we don't want to stop our kiddos from having fun. And we also don't want to ruin our floors. So what do you do? Easy. Go visit our good friends at Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. The entire team there will help you select the best floor that fits your needs. So if you're somebody's like, hey, you know what, I got some youngsters running around playing hoops, playing football, riding the bike around, making some black marks and dents on the floor. Maybe Rigid Max Flooring is your option because that flooring is scratch, dent, and impact resistance that's unmatched in the industry. So what are you waiting for? Get your new floor today from Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire, and take comfort in knowing your new floor can handle those energetic kids. Also, a reminder, best holiday ever going on right now. Just head to aroundthe715.com, or you can head to sportstalk1051.com and click on the banner on the home page over there. It'll take you to around the 715.com's best holiday ever contests, events. Got some music, blogs, and such. And for us too, for Backyard Dreams, we want to take some kiddos Christmas shopping again this year. So you can nominate a child to go Christmas shopping. Again, it's either at aroundthe715.com or head to sportstalk1051.com. Coming up just past 8, we will do our stock risers. I couldn't spit it out for some reason. Stock risers. So we'll get to that coming up here in just a few minutes over here. So before that, Bucks are back in action tonight, coming off of a win. Can we get a winning streak for the first time this season? How about that? That'd be nice.
Hey, step one to the NBA Cup championship.
By the way, what'd you say? Did you see the floor?
I did not see the Bucks floor. Ooh. I know they all came out. What's your thought?
Google it. Look it up quick. I thought it looked sharp, but I thought it looked sharp. It was a little. These things get a little too much. I didn't mind it. I'll just say that.
Okay.
I don't want to give it away.
Yeah, I see it. Okay.
It's different.
I mean, it's still the emphasis on that. I guess if we're not giving it away, so yes, folks, Google it. Like in and of itself, pretty cool. Mm-hmm. I do wish they had emphasized something slightly more appropriate to the team.
That's the one I think is probably kind of because if anybody has, it's blue. it's blue.
Because like the Lakers and the Celtics look like the Lakers and the Celtics, and the Bucks look like the Orlando Magic.
That's probably why I kind of like it, to be honest with you, because it reminded me of the Orlando Magic,
or a little bit of the Washington Wizards in the aughts. Mm-hmm. I don't know that that's necessarily the best way you want to go if you're the Bucks to emulate that era. But
yeah, you're right now, because it is that shade of blue for Orlando. And I think that's probably why it's like, okay, that's kind of cool.
It's why you like that. Yeah.
Yeah. You hit it on the head there. Yeah. Because part of me is like, I don't want to like this, but there was something that was just gravitating towards me.
Yeah. They are cleaner than a year ago. Remember that whole like, oh boy, that's crap. A lot. The runway is gone. The circle thing I really do like. I mean, that's a neat concept to repeat that through. Mm-hmm. Now, again, is this going to go the route of the city uniforms where at a certain point they run out of ideas? Yeah, that's kind of what's happening this year. Well, it's been happening for a while now. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, check out our new threads. It's just the opposite colors of last year.
Right.
Come on. It's going to happen with the NBA Cup ones. I would like to think they settle in on something at a certain point, but I don't know.
Hey,
they got the money to spend.
Maybe that's what we should root for Bucks fans. Get the cup this year. Raise the banner for the cup.
Why not?
Like the Lakers did last year.
It's a trophy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, and look, legitimately so. Mm-hmm. If Adam Silver's incorporating soccer culture, winning trophies is a big deal. So I'm serious. So, but we got to change the culture more here in the States.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. Yep. Definitely. All right. Shot clock's going to cut us off here. So we'll talk some more hoops coming up in the next hour. Also, we got some baseball chat, latest rumors and rumblings on the hot stove. We'll get to that as well. Making a turn, stock risers coming up, though, after these news updates. Final hour kicking off on this Wednesday morning. A big thanks to all of you for hopping aboard with us. We're going to talk some hoops. We're going to talk some baseball. Coming up this hour, we've got stock riser, midweek stock risers here in just a sec. Really quick, forgot to mention this here too, but coming up on November 26th as part of our Midwest Family Gives Thanks and Best Holiday Ever from 10 a.m. to noon. We're going to be over at Hy-Vee. We did this last year, but we're going to be right at Hy-Vee and helping to get some turkeys on the tables of folks who might need a little bit of help. So if you know someone in need who may need a turkey this Thanksgiving, send them on over to Hy-Vee on November 26th, and we'll be handing out some free turkeys, giving those away while they last. All right, while they last. So again, that's going to be on November 26th, 10 a.m. to noon, at our good friends Hy-Vee. We were just there Monday for Veterans Day breakfast, which was record-setting for them too. So again, a big thanks to all who served and continue to serve over across the world here. So, you ready for some midweek stock risers there, Lucas?
Oh, sure.
Why don't you get the honors this morning? Lead us off.
I'll say
shoot it down the fairway.
Well, and then I'm going to I'll go Brian Flores. Not that that's like a shock this year.
Yeah.
Outside of a couple rough weeks, but. And yes, I know they were going against the NFL corpse that is known as Mac Jones at quarterback. Sorry, but let's be real. But, I mean, these kind of performances, gosh, he's got to get a head coaching job next year, unless it's a personality thing. I know there's the whole lawsuit thing, too. But it's
going to take the right owner to hire him.
It will. The right situation. It depends on what opens up all of that. But...
I feel like, not to cut you off, but I feel like if Mike Tomlin were to retire after this year, Flores would be a good fit over there.
Ooh, probably so. I mean, that there is definite similarities. I mean, right down to the Vikings defensive coordinator that you didn't want to have leave if you're a Vikings fan.
And he spent a year or two there too before he came over to Minnesota. So
right, so that would be a good one if that were to happen, but. Tomlin's probably basically just, with the overreaction, underreaction column from ESPN that they always do every week has like the underreaction Tomlin for coach of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably true the way it's going right now. But Flores had another great performance. I oftentimes cite his Substack. Judd Zulgad was talking about a couple secondary guys that are about to become free agents. They had like Byron Murphy is one of them, but a lot of their performance is because of the performance of Brian Flores.
Mm-hmm.
Packers are going to see that again at the end of December. Now, will that be enough to keep the Packers from winning? Depends on how Darnold's doing several weeks from now, but that defense is going to stay stout for the rest of the season. I don't know if it'll end up as the number one defense, but Brian Flores is sure showing week by week with a couple hiccups there and there, but overall trajectory-wise, stock rising for at least defensive prowess and a strong case to make to go back to a head coaching job.
So with that, so we know perhaps a couple of job openings right now, right? We know New Orleans is going to probably be open. They got an interim one there.
Mm-hmm.
The Jets, let's assume Jacksonville is going to be open. Let's just, for argument's sake, Chicago's an opening.
And Dallas.
Does any of those fit Flores? I don't think Dallas does.
I don't think Chicago does, because there you need someone more offensive.
Are they going to go to that whole back and forth? They're going to move on from a defense and go to their offensive minded guy.
Maybe they do that, but that's probably not the right move.
Can I throw a name out there? I threw out as just a fun one that I haven't really heard about for Chicago. What if Belichick said, "Hey, I'll go to Chicago"?
Whoa. But then expectations versus reality. Again, let's remember what's really important here. Expectations would be through the roof.
Because let's say he brings Josh McDaniels as his offensive coordinator for Caleb Williams.
McDaniels does have a pretty good record as
a coordinator, not as a coach.
Right.
Coach.
Well, and that's the know your lane sort of situation. That's why the one asterisk on Flores, who did basically well as a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Not maybe excellent, but he was good. But that would be the asterisk. Would he necessarily do well as a head coach in another job? That doesn't always happen.
Right.
Would Belichick be best there? I don't know. But yeah, I don't see Flores going there. I don't think he'd go to New York because
I wouldn't either.
well, I don't know who would want to at this point. But I don't know what Woody Johnson's relationship with Stephen Ross is. And would that be like, nope, not letting that happen?
Yeah.
But I also don't know that it makes sense for the team. Like that would reinforce their defense. Offensively, they're just about done with the Rodgers era. Realistically, that's going to happen pretty soon, unless they want to go all in on defense. And then you're down to New Orleans and the salary cap nightmare that is the Saints.
And I think he's got to be careful, too, because this is his second time, and not many coaches get 3 times.
Right.
So you got to be picky and choosy. Not do an Adam Gase and just jump left and right.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he decides to stay in a spot that's probably pretty good, like as much as he wants to. Clearly, he wants to be a head coach. It's not a bad situation to be right now. It's kind of like who's the guy with Detroit offensive coordinator?
Oh, Ben Johnson.
Yes. Like, is that the worst thing in the world to pass on a head coaching job? I mean, Ben Johnson's in a pretty decent spot right now. Now you're taking any move is a gamble.
Right.
That's a gamble, but taking a head coaching job is a gamble too. They're all gambles.
Yep. My stock riser, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I'm going to go with Curt Cignetti, the head coach at Indiana right now. First year at Indiana, going pretty darn good. And I think if there's any big time openings, his name's going to be mentioned if he decides to leave. But I got a feeling you're going to see the whole. He has agreed to a contract extension, which means nothing in college football, as we found out. Right. Unless they're big buyouts, I get it, but still, that tends to not mean a whole lot over there.
Yeah.
So, but I think you're going to hear his name mentioned because there's probably going to be maybe a couple openings that could draw some attention, right?
Yeah.
I don't know who right off the top of my head some of those big programs would be, but there's odds are there's going to be at least 1 or 2 out there. But I think the chances are he's probably going to get a pay raise after this year. Right? I think that's fair to say.
Yes. The way the season's going, again, barring some incredible collapse we cannot fathom, it's going to happen. At this point, you get up to around you're in the ballpark of a top 5 team in college football. The Indiana Hoosiers? Yes. Agree.
Let me, I just want to double check something here. Okay. What about, because I did my research. Curt played quarterback at West Virginia. What if his alma mater came calling?
Is that a downgrade?
I don't know, but it's his alma mater. And what if Pat McAfee got involved in it because that's his alma mater too?
Wednesday weekly check-in with
right.
Then there's AJ Hawk on the side there with his headphones on and in the rectangle.
Yeah. Because I mean, you look at West Virginia; they're 4-4 this year. They were 9-4 last year. They won the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Before that was 5-7, 6-7, 6-4, 5-7. So I don't know. That's that whole. Yeah, is it a downgrade or I don't know? Big Ten's tougher though.
That's the thing. Big Ten SEC is what you want to usually. I mean, I guess it's easier to focus on those 2 conferences right now. Is where would you want to go? So that's what it's going to be. But which school is going to have the opening necessarily available? And I don't know that there's going to be one that would be considered an absolute upgrade. Plus, if you're in Indiana, you are in the Big Ten.
Right.
So it's higher. It's more prestigious now. So maybe it's worth staying there.
Yeah. I'd say if you beat Ohio State, you for sure stay, and you better lock him up right away after that game. But he's in the driver's seat right now for a lot of stuff. So,
and while it's probably not going to be the case with him in Indiana, every so often someone decides to stay and they change that program once and for all. For all we know, we're seeing the beginning of Indiana becoming not Ohio State level, but the beginnings of a strong Big Ten contender that we've not been able to fathom for pretty much all of our life. It could be about to start if he sticks around and he's that good. It's way too early, but that's a possibility if he stays.
I feel like though, didn't we have that? Who was it? Was that Tom Allen for that 1 year when Indiana was really good?
Yeah, what was that?
It wasn't that long ago, was it?
When was he was at Indiana? 17 to 23. He was there till he went to Penn State to be an assistant.
But there was that 1 year during his stretch where it was like Indiana was really good. It's like, oh, are they finally, turning the corner or back? You know what you just said reminded me of that season for Tom Allen.
Was that 2019? They went 8-5. Well, 2020 they went 6-1 in the Big Ten.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, because that's the year that they were number 13, number 12 in the polls.
Okay.
So 2020, but then they collapsed the next 3 years.
Epic collapse.
Yeah. So that could also be what's going to end up happening.
Did they have Michael Penix Jr.?
And
then he transferred to Washington for his final year.
Yeah, because they're the box score, trying to find the box score to the 2021 Outback Bowl. For Indiana, it was Jack Tuttle.
Okay.
In that game, in the 2021 Outback Bowl from the 2020 season.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, everybody forget about Michael Penix Jr. Penix was with Indiana 18 to 21. So then Washington 22 to 23.
I'm trying to remember, was he out there for that? I don't remember the circumstances of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was on November 30th of 2020. He was ruled out for the season, torn ACL. So that's why.
Yeah, I remember that. Yep, that's right. I remember.
Yep. Okay, you want to talk a little baseball now?
Yes, let's
do some rumors, shall we? So obviously the big free agent out there is Juan Soto. And he's taking some visits and all that sort of stuff. But John Heyman reports that there are 8 clubs in on Soto: Yankees, Mets, Blue Jays, Dodgers, Giants, Red Sox, and 2 mystery teams. Because of course there's always a mystery team, right? There's always at least a mystery team. However, he added a little bit of a nugget to this mystery team. Said, quote, at least one low revenue team is believed still in the Derby, but it isn't necessarily Tampa Bay. To which now you've got detectives out there trying to figure out who's the low revenue team that's in on Juan Soto. So everybody's fan base is like saying, hey, it could be us, including Brewers fans.
Of course.
Because now there's blogs out there saying why it makes sense. Well, no crap, it makes sense because he's a really good player, but let's also be a little realistic with this sort of thing. I think if all of a sudden we logged on one day or we had our text go through for news updates where it says the Brewers signed Juan Soto, I mean, I don't even know what the reaction would be like. Like, I couldn't even imagine that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not happening. It's not happening.
Like Aaron Judge to the Brewers. Like, what?
Right.
Huh?
So I don't know if there is a quote unquote low revenue team that's still in the running, or is this whole, hey, more teams involved drives up the price range sort of thing that we've seen so many times.
Okay, so your low revenue teams, I'm going to probably forget a few here. And some of these we can eliminate pretty quickly. Like the Rockies have no idea what they're doing, so I'm not going to count them.
It's not Marlins, right? Can't be the Marlins.
I mean, maybe if that's okay. Actually, I'm going to count them as a possibility.
Man,
given that the new ownership, they're trying to de-Jeterize everything because like they just didn't like Derek Jeter, which led to them getting rid of like Kim Ng and letting Skip Schumacher go and basically saying, yeah, we're going to suck, but that's because I didn't like Derek Jeter. That's a great way to run a baseball team.
It's not the A's, is it?
Oh gosh.
Can you imagine if it's the A's that go to Vegas and then we're going to bring in Juan Soto?
West Sacramento.
For this year, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, no, sorry, they're the Athletics. Dude, you are not to per team rules. You are not to refer to them, Sacramento or otherwise. And A's is the second thing you say. Never start with A's. It's always Athletics, then A's. Follow team protocol. It's not them. I think the Marlins are actually a sneaky possibility.
Interesting.
As much as I was ripping on the ownership changeover, the transition. I do think they are doing some things right under the radar. That might be the one. Because Pittsburgh's too stingy. I still can't believe I'm counting the Twins as a low revenue team, and they shouldn't be. But by all accounts, they're not going to be spending a lot this year either. I mean, it's not going to be as bad as last year. They're not doing another $30 million or however much payroll cut. It's not them. Kansas City's in a pretty good spot. Yeah, it'd be great to get Juan Soto, but they're moving the right way. Why would you want to basically get yourself in trouble in a couple years? I don't think it's them.
Yeah.
It's not Cleveland. So would it be the Reds? Maybe it is the Reds.
Honestly, that was the one team I was thinking about. Is it the Reds? You got Terry Francona over there now.
They got enough like younger talent that has potential between Elly De La Cruz and such. Maybe it's them. Okay, realistically, it's gonna be the Mets, maybe the Yankees, and then the field. But I could see the Reds or the Marlins being that lower revenue team. I can't really think of another one for which this applies.
Yeah, it ain't Pirates. It's ruling out potential. So this was from this is a blog here. I think. Okay, is this from? Let me see if I can find the writer for this. Okay. Anyways, says we can eliminate a good number of teams off the bat, ruling out potential mystery teams for Juan Soto. The White Sox, Angels, Athletics. They say Marlins and Rockies are all hard to simply for competitive reasons. Reds, Pirates, and Twins almost certainly don't have the money right now. The Rangers have plenty of the other needs to fill and are reportedly looking to shed payroll. The Cardinals are selling rather than buying. The Cubs more or less already ruled themselves out days ago. That's what I was kind of wondering too, but I forgot, Cubs. Diamondbacks have their corner outfield spot spoken for. Braves seem to have their sights set elsewhere, and the Padres just traded Soto away. So that leaves us with the following options: Baltimore, Tampa, Guardians, Royals, Tigers, Astros, Mariners, Phillies, Nationals, and Brewers. The Astros,
a return to the Nats would be an interesting one.
Yeah. Astros have their own right fielder to lock up long-term, so we can move them. Milwaukee and Baltimore both have plenty of young outfield talent, which would seem to suggest that their limited free agent dollars would be better used in other areas. So, okay. And as they go, suddenly we've narrowed ourselves down quite a bit. Rays, Tigers, Phillies, and Nationals remain conveniently on this list. So, I don't know. Tigers, Tigers, maybe?
Maybe they're building something pretty. It's not going to want to be part of a midway rebuilding project. Phillies are not a low revenue team.
Man, that Tigers one would be really interesting.
Oh boy. Oh gosh, as a Twins fan,
I was going to say it sucked for you, but
yeah, like no, really. Yeah, he's not going to Cleveland, but I think Detroit's a definite possibility. But I've already. I've not resigned myself, but I've already accustomed myself to going, you know what, the Tigers are going to be a player going down the road. They're doing a lot of the right things. They're going to be competitive. Okay, cool. So if Twins, do your thing to try to keep up with them. And that's not a guarantee to win a title. Juan Soto has won a title with the Nationals, but even though he's been getting better since, hasn't won a title since. That's the thing with the nature of baseball. One guy is not going to win the title. There's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
But I'm still thinking he goes big market, and I think he's in the city of New York.
I do too. I do too. Yeah, I know Blue Jays apparently have the first meeting with him. So, would you rather be the first, middle, or last if you're one of these teams? You always hear this like for job interviews and such. If you're a team trying to recruit somebody, would you rather be the first one, then you set the bar? Be in the middle, or that very last one, but you gotta try to maybe hit those levels of those other teams.
How does Scott Boras typically operate in that regard? Because he's going to probably drive about 75% of this.
But if you're the team and you like, okay, I want the last meeting. No, I want the first. I want middle.
I think you'd rather have the last one.
I do too. Lasting impression, fresher.
It would help for that 25% that's more player or focused. Boras doesn't care. He's going to get the whatever is the highest amount. That's what he's going to take. But outside of that, I'd rather be the last one. I think that when it's the personal, you want to have that lingering impression. Now, hopefully it works, that it is a good impression, but if it is, you want that to stick.
Mhm.
So I'd go that route.
Yeah, I don't know, that's a tough one for me. Because you'd say last one, it's the lasting impression and it's fresh, but at the same time, if you go a little bit earlier, you've had more time to let it marinate with the player. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it's, I don't know. I'd still probably go last.
Yeah,
I'd still go last.
I want that there. I know sometimes the players like, do I have to do this? But
Because I think you run the risk of, like, if you do the first one, the honeymoon kind of wears off a little bit. Like all that song and dance, it kind of wears off. Like if it was great, the first meeting with Toronto was great. It was awesome. They wined and dined you.
Mhm.
The honeymoon a little bit wears off then.
Yeah, anytime
shine
you're
wears
looking
off.
through a lot of stuff, the latter one's going to make a bigger impression.
Mhm.
Unless there's something really special at some point along the way, then it doesn't matter. But all things being equal, I'd rather be freshest.
Mhm.
So
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air ish.
so fresh, so clean.
Mhm. All right, so that's otherwise it's pretty quiet. I mean, I think that's kind of the domino everybody's waiting to fall right now is Juan Soto.
I think because the meetings are first week of December,
Mhm.
3 week stuff's going to go wild. This is not going to be one of those. Hey, we're in mid February, spring training, and there are 5 big free agents still to be. That's not going to be this year.
Who do you think is the team that's going to maybe surprise people by spending the most that maybe they didn't think that they were going to be buyers in this market?
There's usually one.
Why do I keep thinking it's the Reds?
I wonder if that is Reds or Tigers.
Yeah.
There you go. It's those two teams.
I mean, because let's face it, Terry's up there, and he's coming back. I mean, he's not coming back for a rebuilding project, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I got this weird feeling that Reds are going to try to be active.
There's going to be 2 big spenders, one of which is going to flame out.
Mhm.
And I don't know which one. I would say it's probably going to be the Reds, unfortunately. They'll spend a lot of money, and then we'll be like, oh, remember that was they're sitting in 4th place. But I think it's those 2.
Cubs will sit on their hands and piss off Cubs fans again?
Probably so. Cardinals are not in the position. Basically, that article laid out a lot of the reasons why a lot of teams are not going to make a lot of big moves.
Mhm.
And even though, like in the Padres case with Juan Soto, it was more of a matter of Soto was traded away. But I also don't think the way the Padres are financially right now that they're going to become big spenders now.
Right.
So, yeah, I think Detroit and Cincinnati might be the ones to watch.
Mhm.
But will they do it the right way is the biggest question.
That is a good question.
And I don't know.
I'm very curious to see what the Mets do with David Stearns. How much outside of Soto do they open up the pocketbooks for other players?
I think
Or they try to bring him on, then David Stearns uses his analytics side to fill out the rest of the roster.
Probably so. That's the right answer. I think it's not going to be all huge amounts of money, but they're not going to not spend money. They will spend, but they're going to do it the right way. I kind of trust that they're going to figure themselves out and remain competitive. I don't know if that means another LCS appearance anytime soon, but they're going to be in the discussion.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got to take a quick break here. We'll have more though. We'll talk some hoops, talk some football, and all that good stuff. Coming up here after these quick words. What's on your wish list this year? If you said maybe a new home or maybe even a piece of land in the middle of the woods to escape to, you are in luck because Woods and Water Realty has your wish list already available. Just visit woodsandwater.com to check out all the listings available for homes, cabins, or parcels of land. And the team of realtors at Woods and Water Realty are ready to help you find that new dream home or piece of land to build your future dream home. The realtors from Woods and Water Realty are there with you every step of the way, making the process of home buying super simple. So start looking through that wish list right now by heading over to woodsandwater.com. I'm going to call an audible here for a little bit, a little business of sports segment here.
Okay.
First question. Do you have Netflix?
Yes.
Will you be watching Tyson Paul this weekend?
Heck no.
Why not?
Anything involving a Paul brother is just like a stay away. I don't know why, but
you want to know why I want to watch it?
I mean, the Tyson thing does make it more interesting, but yeah, go ahead.
I want to see if Tyson kills him. Like, I want to see what Iron Mike looks like. That's the only draw for me.
The winner would be the asteroid if that were to come down.
Wow. Wow.
Is it wild that I'm actually at the point now where I'm more favoring Mike Tyson over Jake Paul?
I don't think so, because I think it's I mean, I'm not a Jake Paul fan. That sort of thing. Here's the thing, like, I've always said this. I feel like if there was a sport that I want to be a boxing fan so much. Like, I feel like that's a sport I could be a big fan. It's just it hasn't been good lately.
Right.
And I think part of it is I want it to be good again. And I know this isn't probably going to be good, but Tyson is part of an era that when boxing was good. So I'm still kind of holding on to that. And part of it is I'm such a huge Rocky fan. I want this fight to look like a Rocky movie where it's just punch, 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 where it's like, okay, that guy is like beat up and he's going to look like Rocky afterwards.
Yeah.
Eyes swelled shut and everything. I don't think it's going to happen, but I the only thing that's drawing me to this is Iron Mike right now.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see what this guy, this 58-year-old dude, first fight in 2 decades? For some people, I mean, I still remember as a kid watching a Holyfield Tyson fight when he bit his ear off, for crying out loud.
Yep. I mean, Mike Tyson fights were events in the 1990s.
Yeah. So I hope it's, what he said the other day, I'm bringing the devil himself to the ring, Mike Tyson said. And I think that's because, I mean, there's a group of people too that only know Mike Tyson from probably the Hangover movie. Or, the guy with the tattoo on his face and all that.
He did the birds thing on Jimmy Kimmel that one time.
Yeah, stuff like that. So
that gets back to it's Mike Tyson. Do you know his history?
Right.
Kind of, to call it checkered would be a very vanilla way to put it.
Yeah. So I know I'm getting my hopes up for hoping to see something that was in the past. I know it. I realize it. And I'm an idiot for eating this up. But I really want to see Mike Tyson just go out there and kick the you-know-what out of him.
And unfortunately, I think the opposite's going to happen.
You think Paul's going to win?
I'm afraid so. I hope you're right. I'm fearing it's going to end up being that.
Then the fix is in. Yeah, Mike Tyson still looks really scary in his videos. Like, I don't know if I'd want to get in a ring with him. The speed looks like it's still there.
But you can do the video thing, and does that necessarily translate to reality? That's like Ben Simmons. Hey, he hit a 3-pointer.
Yeah.
But I don't. I'm weary of that. But yeah, this is probably the first time ever that I've actually been maybe rooting for Mike Tyson. Not that I really strongly care one way or the other. Like I said, it's just, but yeah, I think I wouldn't mind that. And maybe there's a little bit of nostalgia there too.
That's the big thing for me in this thing. I mean, it's the nostalgia factor of
That's incredible what nostalgia will do. Because again, anyone who is old enough, and probably most of us listening to the show are old enough to remember Mike Tyson and everything in the 1990s. You don't have to think too hard to go, oh, that's right. He was probably one of the more, to use the term, problematic high-profile athletes of the 1990s. Was he number one in the problematic rankings of the 1990s in real time?
Probably.
Yeah. Like, you do all that stuff today? No.
Him and Rodman would be up there for sure.
Right. And at least in Rodman's case, that was more.
He wasn't like the main guy in that team. You know what I mean? Like Tyson was an individual sport, but Tyson was like, okay, that guy's a really talented freak.
Right. Well, right. And he also was doing like, I mean, Rodman did some bad team things, but he also was more flashy, I guess. And that was what people was getting people upset. Like, why are you changing your hair color? Again, that's
kind of why I watched as a kid, though, to see what kind of color hair he was going to have that night on WGN.
It's true, because it was always different. And that's another one of those where fast forward 3 decades. Yes, it's almost been 3 decades since Dennis Rodman with the Chicago Bulls. Time flies. On the one hand, that seems so uncontroversial now. On the other hand, which athlete today is changing their hair color every single day? That would be a thing today. That was a thing in 1995. What would it be like in 2020?
People were freaking out when Joe Burrow dyed his hair in the training camp.
I know. So what if Joel Embiid was changing his hair color every day? Like, we'd be breaking First Take. So actually, Rodman was ahead of his time and not, and still like behind. I don't understand. But that's what nostalgia will do. You rub away the bad stuff. You rub away the rape stuff. You rub just rape stuff. That's a terrible way of putting it. But you know what I mean? If that goes away, the ear thing goes that, and you're like Mike Tyson, 90s boxing. But that's the nostalgia. That's how it works. And now we find ourselves going, hey, it'd be kind of cool if Mike Tyson. I'm feeling that. And I remember the 90s and Tyson, but I kind of want him to win.
You know what this is, though? This is almost the same, not quite, but practically the movie Rocky Balboa playing out in front of our eyes.
Oh my gosh.
An aging Stallone back in the ring against a youngster over there.
Yes.
It's the movie playing out in front of our eyes this weekend. So,
oh man.
Is the goal to go to the distance for Tyson? So I was talking to our coworker Alex, who's a big boxing person too. He questions whether this is going to be real. Like, is it going to be a real fight?
There is a certain kitsch to this that makes me wonder that a little bit too. I think it's going to be real. What would be the biggest indicator that it's not?
A lot of maybe dancing around and not a lot of punches being thrown.
And
you know
Paul wins after one round.
Yeah.
Then and then
I want action, man. You know, if I'm going to tune in, I want some action. I want to see some. I'm sorry to be gory, blood and black eyes and all. I want to see some boxing here.
Well, because
not the dancing around and jab here, little jab here. They get a little scuffle. Oh, got to break them up there a little bit. Come on now.
Well,
not going all full bore and kicking and UFC style, but let's get some good fights in here.
As much as we talk about the glory days of boxing, which I mean, really talking glory days of boxing, you got to go back about a century or so. 80s boxing, while way better than 20s boxing, 2020s boxing. That's not the cream of the crop. Come on, that's post Ali. But how many Mike Tyson bouts? Remember that again, the Simpsons parody pretty much did it, where Mike Tyson shows up, one punch, it's done. That happens so many times. That was like the running joke with Mike Tyson bouts. Pay-per-view, how much is this going to cost and how big is this going to be? And after like 30 seconds, oh, it's already over. That wasn't good either. I know that it enhanced the reputation of Mike Tyson and his dominance, but there was a lot of really uncompetitive boxing in his era. So if you're looking for something that's like not interesting and maybe is a fake, I guess the opposite, what we see this weekend, would be that.
I hope this is better. And I finally remember Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor. Remember that whole ordeal? I hope this ends up being better than that.
Yeah, I hope.
And mostly it's just because of the nostalgia of night. It's Iron Mike back in the ring, for crying out loud. And I hope Iron Mike just dominates. I want it to be a good fight, or Iron Mike just dominates and sits down the YouTuber. Down to the mat. Come on now.
Yeah, I think I kind of want that too. I know. Again, it's weird that I'm rooting for Tyson.
And I think a lot of it is just, it's the nostalgia thing too, but maybe it's just because I'm old and I don't want a YouTuber winning it. I want somebody who was an athlete back in, you know what I mean? Like, not to say
Yeah.
Jake Paul, but I'm sorry. He's a YouTuber. That's how he came up.
Jake Paul was able to get this lane because there's not a lot of other really good boxers. Jake Paul is not becoming this high profile of a boxer in 1975.
Right.
Or if he is, he's devoting his life to being a boxer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, he's devoting plenty of his life. It's not like he's just like, hey, I'm going to show up at a boxing ring.
Record.
Yeah.
10-1 record.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing a lot for that. I'm not going to completely like rip the guy on boxing. Like, clearly he's putting a lot of effort into being a boxer, but the path is different in another era when there's more talent going around there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it works. So,
what would be, what would really set it off? If it was a fake stage thing, if like Paul's wearing a fake ear and Tyson bites it.
Oh gosh, I hope that does not happen.
I know that would just annoy the crap out of me. Wouldn't it? Like, just stupid stuff like that.
Yeah. Then this isn't legit anymore.
Nope.
I'm out. Yeah. Completely. I don't care who wins at that point. Then I don't care.
Yep. I would be the same. Any gimmicky thing on there, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm shutting it off right away.
I'm already leery of this going south pretty fast because as much as the indicators are that Mike Tyson looks like he's still got a whole lot of strength, I'm still leery that it's going to be old guy gets in the boxing ring. How's this going to? Oh, yeah, he's way past his prime, and it's over really fast. That's bad enough of the possibility of that. Let's not add in, hey, who's bringing some 90s references here? Stop. Please don't do that.
Because it's sanctioned, I think. The fight is sanctioned. Yeah, it's sanctioned. Okay, it's sanctioned by the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation and includes several significant conditions. Yeah, both fighters wear 14-ounce gloves instead of the standard 10-ounce gloves typically used by heavyweight fighters. But it is sanctioned in Texas. So, okay. I don't know if that really means anything, but...
And that's a little better than being just like on an island somewhere, some crypto haven or something like that. Like, whoa, that's sketchy. Okay, like, what is the best possible outcome? Like, in terms of we feel the best after this.
I think the best, it's going to be very generic, but it gets something like it's a good fight. It's an entertaining fight, but it's a real, you can tell this is a real fight. It's a good one, but then it like generates interest into the sport. You know, like,
yes,
like it's like, oh, okay. Like, I hate to sound barbaric or anything like that. We need some hits and we need some big hits. That's what draws people into it. And it needs to be a good one. Maybe he has to go the distance. I think we need to see a knockout maybe in the final round. Or maybe it's here again, I'll steal from Hollywood. It's it goes the distance, judge's decision, and it's an upset pick. Kind of like Rocky 1, where it should have went to Balboa, but it went to Apollo Creed. And then you get the rematch. Because then you got people, you get people freaking out about it. Max Kellerman's freaking out about his boxing and how the decisions got it wrong on Monday morning sports talk all over.
If this can get to first take, then this is a success.
Then you got Paul saying, ain't gonna be no rematch. Ain't gonna be no rematch. Don't want one. You know, that whole Rocky 1, but
hey, next up, Sly Stallone versus Jake Paul. Oh boy.
I'd probably still pick Sly Stallone after that.
Now, there's one I could much easier get behind Sylvester Stallone up against Jake Paul.
Yeah. Ugh. All right, we got to wrap up things here this morning. Picks and predicts coming up after these quick words. When was the last time you looked up into the left-hand corner of your windshield at that oil change sticker? Hey, now you just realize it's been a bit because you're overdue for a change. Where to go? Simple. ASAP Used Auto Parts in Eau Claire. Not only is ASAP Used Auto Parts your go-to spot for high-quality used auto parts and new tires, which you might want to get before the winter season, they're your go-to spot when it comes to oil changes as well. Don't wait any longer, peeps. Get that oil change today by giving ASAP Used Auto Parts a call. 715-514-4501. It's time for some picks and predicts brought to you by the Alba Room. It is Wednesday, which means it's trivia. So head on over to the Alba Room, catch some of the games, dominate the trivia game as well. Let's pick some NBA games to start off for tonight's. We've got Pacers at Orlando. Lucas, Pacers favored by 1.5.
I will go the Magic.
I'm going to go with my Magic too. So I'm going to go Magic too. Let's go Boston at Brooklyn. Boston's only favored by 8.5.
Only.
I'm just used to them being double-digit favorites now.
Well, maybe pondering the possibility of a Giannis trade to
Stop
Brooklyn.
it.
You heard about Simmons, right? Yeah. I'll go Celtics.
Yeah, I'm going Celtics too. So, by the way, what'd you think about the whole Brown saying Giannis is a bait or is a child and all that stuff with the psych handshake? Overreaction from Brown?
I think so.
I do too.
I mean, I've got a fairly high opinion of Jaylen Brown of late, but that struck me as an overreaction. I think Giannis was. I mean, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, Giannis, maybe you're taking that a bit too far, but I'm more young, and this is not homerism. I think Jaylen Brown took it a little too seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're not on the court, so I know the dynamics are a little different. We would understand better there, but I favor Giannis in this one.
Mm-hmm. I do too. Let's go Chicago at New York.
I'll take the Knickerbockers.
Yep. I'm going to go with the Knicks as well. How about Cleveland at Philadelphia?
So will Cleveland's streak continue?
So Cleveland's actually favored by 9.5, which is a bigger gap for Boston taking on Brooklyn.
I'm going to say the streak ends. Sixers get the win.
Is so-and-so and so-and-so playing for the 76ers, those two guys?
Yeah, good.
Embiid and, Rusty. Okay, so Embiid played last night? Yeah, last night.
So no Embiid, but would that necessarily, I mean, Rusty Embiid, is that necessarily a thing you want?
Right.
I think it's one of those where, like, at some point the streak has to end, and it doesn't necessarily happen against a good team.
Mm-hmm.
Which I know it's Sixers saying they're not a good. Well, right now they're not a good team. They will be at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
think.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Knicks. I'm gonna go Knicks with this one.
Or Sixers, you mean?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, because I was looking at because the Sixers lost to the Knicks last night. Sorry. Wow. Yeah.
New York invasion of Philadelphia. That's been a thing of late, as we've discovered.
I'm going Cleveland in this one.
Okay.
I'm going to go Cleveland. So let's do. Don't want to do another one before that. Yeah, let's do T-Wolves at Portland. Minnesota's 6.5 favorite.
Timberwolves are not in a good spot right now. If we were doing the stock fallers, hardcore on the Wolves at the moment. Of course, that maybe is the one you don't want to buy because everyone would be buying that stock right now. They need to do something. I will say the Wolves win. If we're going by the line, I think it's under, and it's going to be one where, like, they do just enough. Like, this is an ant takeover game or something like that. They got some issues. Side note, Rob Dillingham going to play him? Maybe. They are really figuring themselves out right now. Now, will they correct that enough to be an NBA Finals contender again this year? We'll see. But it's a transition period, to put it lightly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That'll take the T-Wolves.
Let's do one more. Phoenix at Sacramento. How about this? Sacramento's a 7.5 point favorite.
Interesting. I'll take Sacto.
I'm going to go Phoenix.
Okay.
And then Bucks, Pistons. Let's assume Dame is still in concussion protocol.
I am perplexed. I know I get it, but seeing the Pistons with a better record than the Bucks.
Yeah.
That's so
weird.
Yeah. I'll take the Bucks.
First winning streak of the season for the Bucks this year. How about that?
Break up the Bucks.
Yep, they'll get to 4-8 after tonight.
Cool.
We're halfway to 500.
Yay.
Halfway to 500. So
you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. All right. We got any good college hoop games? We had Duke, Kentucky last night. That was a good game.
Hey, Cooper Flag, overrated?
Oh, everybody at Duke's overrated. Tongue in cheek.
You saw that Kyle Sigler thing, by the way,
I did,
right?
Yeah.
What the heck?
I don't know.
What the I can't really comment on who can. I don't know, but that's just
yeah.
That was well, Flag still good. His big thing's going to be the NBA down the road.
Exactly.
It'll take care of itself.
Exactly. So, but
don't react to one game.
Well, hey, that's what we do, though, man.
I loved it on the Gophers last night. We're up on, I can't remember who they were playing, but their opponent had 2 points at the end of the first quarter. I think it was women's basketball. 2 points.
If it was quarter, yeah, it'd be women's then. So
right there, yeah. So that was the women's game because the app doesn't specify which one. So now I remember. Yeah, quarters. Yeah, 2 points. And they had the team leader for the team they were playing. I'm like, with 2 points, cool.
That's
You're the only person that scored. One bucket.
Yikes.
Yeah, not too much tonight. I'm looking at the rundown
too. So last night was kind of the night. I know Michigan State's not ranked, but they fell to Kansas and then Duke, Kentucky. So
and women's wise, what's coming up later today? Let's see. Do we have any? Again, it's so early. You still got some sketchy ones. I mean, yeah, you could do Maryland and the Cuse, but it's still too early. So too much to go.
Get a good one Friday with Wisconsin taking on Arizona. That should be a good one, too.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Ryan's name is going to be up in the rafters, and the Badgers will be honoring the Final Four teams for that game, too. So, which makes sense.
That would be nice.
That's who they beat to go to the Final Four those years was Arizona. So,
right.
Sean Miller going to be there, too. Just ouch. Okay.
Hey, now. By the way, when I was at Billie Eilish concert earlier this week at the X and saw someone in a Kraken jersey, and I thought about you when I saw that. I'm like, Dan's soon-to-be former favorite team.
I don't know who it was, but it was Monday morning, Good Morning Football. One of the peeps on there was wearing a Kraken shirt, too. Might have been Akbar.
Where are you at right now on your likelihood of switching allegiances?
Oh, it's pretty high. It's pretty high. If it's Yeti, it's done.
Okay.
If it's a Yeti, it's done.
If not,
it's still Kraken.
Okay.
So,
see.
Oh, the only thing that decides it is going to be Utah. It's up to Utah right now if they want me to be a fan or not.
I was also impressed when we had a hockey jersey, and I know it was in the Xcel Energy Center, probably the highest concentration of hockey jerseys of any arena in the world. But still a little surprised to see someone wearing a hockey jersey at a Billie Eilish concert. I think it was in the highest 5% of age-wise, my wife and I.
Probably.
Yeah, which is the exact opposite. 5 years ago, we were at the Heart concert. We were in the youngest 5%, and now we're in the oldest 5%.
Because I couldn't even tell you Billie who?
Billie Eilish.
Oh, song. I couldn't tell you.
I will say, freaking awesome concert, too. Totally worth going to that. That was an experience, and it was really, really well done. So you're Kraken for now, 7-8-1. Your soon-to-be hockey club.
They got Carolina tonight. That's gonna be a tough one.
6-6-3.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we're average. There's nothing wrong.
So wait,
are
you Utah or Seattle at this point?
Well, they're both average right now. So
I know, but is it we or they for you? Like, are you still Team Kraken or Team Hockey
Club?
Still
Kraken.
Okay. Yeah. So the hockey club, you're eyeballing them.
Mm-hmm. It's like you're kind of just eyeing them up for a possible, like, do I ask them out or not, sort of thing. You're kind of feeling the vibes right now.
Sounds like a pop song or something.
Feeling the vibe right now. Okay. So that's where we're at. So
all right.
Yep.
It's all about the vibes.
Yep.
To use another term we've heard a lot in the past few months.
Oh yeah. So all right. Shot clock's gonna cut us off at a good time right now.
Not a moment too soon.
Exactly. So have a good rest of your day. DP Danettes, they're up next. We'll do this again tomorrow. Don't forget, we've got Jake Bolks, DNR Warden on, extended version tomorrow. Get your questions in before the hunting season starts. Hit us up with a text, 715-830-1912. Talk to you all tomorrow morning, just past 6.